Hello, got my cup of tea and I'm ready for our weekly look at what we're going to make today. Let's see. Right, so as well as my cup of tea, I've got quite a bundle of goodies on my desk. And I thought today we'd have a go at making a buckle card. And we'd have a go at making a buckle card, and we would add to it some sunflowers from the Celebrate Sunflower set, because I'd picked these nice yellowy papers and that seemed like a nice flower to go with those. So I have picked these papers from the pattern pack. Just trying to find my pack. It's called Playing with Patterns, and it's this lovely pack with sort of lots of patterns and quite nice bright colours and splodges and squiggles and circles and stripes. So really nice. Excuse me. I thought we got a sneeze coming then. It's gone away. A really nice set of papers, and I've picked out a couple. There's this one that's sort of got like these stripes with dots within them. So the stripes are in crushed curry, and then we've got some Night of Navy and some purple posy dots in the middle there. And then I've also picked out this crushed curry sort of ombre effect paper as well. So I've picked up those papers. The other side are very different. They're stripes, but we're going with this side. And then I've got a piece of crushed curry cardstock there. So let's start by making our card base for our buckle card. So I'm going to grab my trimmer, and we're going to, as near as we can, make a 6-inch square card. It won't be quite 6-inch out of a piece of A4 card. We're going to cut this so that it is 14.9 centimetres wide across here, because we then know, if I put that to one side, if I swing it round and score it at 14.9, that's halfway-ish on our piece of cardstock. And then we can just fold it in half. And although it's not quite a 6-inch square, it is sort of 5 3/4 inches pretty well. So a 5 3/4 inch square card base we've got there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this card base and we are going to chop 5 centimetres off of this end just here. Okay, so that leaves that front panel then is 9.9. We'll need to remember that when we're cutting our papers for it. So 9.9 by 14.9 that front flap is. The back one obviously is 14.9 square, and this is 5 centimetres by 14.9. What we're going to do with this piece of card is we're then going to swing it round and we're going to score it at 5 centimetres, boom, boom, like that. Fold that over, and then this piece is going to become our buckle on our card, like that. So that is most of our mechanism for our card done. We'll do some matting and layering and those sorts of things, and there'll be a couple of other bits we'll need to do in a minute. I'm just going to pop my trimmer. I've got some nice hooks on my the side of my trolley now, and the really nice thing about our new trimmer is this little bit just here, look, that is just right for hanging on hooks on the side of your trolley so that we don't lose it. So let's put it there so that we don't lose it. Okay, so let's take some of our paper now and decide what we're going to have where. I think I'd quite like to have the spots on this front piece and the ombre effect coming across the back there, I think. A bit like that. So let's cut those papers accordingly. So I'm going to cut this paper here so that it is 14.4 centimetres square, and the edge that I'm going to take off is the palest edge. going to leave the darker edge. Doesn't really matter this way round which way it goes. And that will then sit nicely in there. And it's quite nice as you open it up to have that ombre effect going on. And sort of that paler stripe just sitting down here. And then this front bit, if we remember right, this was 9.9, so we're going to cut this at 9.4, and I want the stripes going downwards, and coming the other way we want it 14.4. So that should then sit nicely on there. This bit we're going to stick underneath that mat of paper and have it coming this way. So we need some paper to go on there. Now then, might be quite fun to have those stripes going the other way, mightn't it? So this was, this is going to be 9.9 this way by 5 centimetres that way. So we need this to be 9.4. by 4.5, so half a centimetre smaller each way. And then that will then sit nicely on there. Like that, once it's all stuck together. So I think quick slurp of tea, and then we will do just that. We'll stick those bits of paper on. Now actually, before I stick those bits of paper on, what I do want to do is find use this triple punch, because I'd like to just round off these corners. So we'll round the corner on there, but we'll also round the corner on the paper, so we need to do that obviously before we stick it in place, so it will then look quite neat like that. So let's get out some Tombow. I'm going to stick this pattern paper to here. That's squidged a little bit. I'm actually going to put some glue on this piece just here, and I'm going to decide how far up I want that to come. So about there, I think. And we will stick that to the back of this paper here before we then stick that panel on. Stick that in place. This is a new Tombow, so it means it's coming out a bit quicker. You sort of go from squeezing the last out of one bottle to a new bottle that just runs very quickly, and it takes a little while to get your hand back in. So let's put some glue on the back of here, and we'll stick this one on here like this. Right, so now what we need is we need somewhere for our buckle to slot into. So I'm going to take my ruler and a pencil, and let's I think we'll bring this in about centimetre from the end of our buckle. If I turn this round, actually, I can sit that up against the end, and it will be about there. So let me just draw a line between those so that I can see where we're aiming for. So we're aiming for this line just here, which will be about 1 centimetre in from the end of our buckle. So now I'm going to bring my trimmer back in and open this card right up, and we're going to get that line centered up in the middle of our groove, just there, and we want to go from about there to about there, and then I'm just going to move this the slightest little switch over, and then do the same. And what I will do is I'll take my snips and snip out. Could do this with a knife as well. So just there, and then just there. Like that. So now we've got that nice little slit in there that we're going to be able to just pop that in the end like that to close our card up. Now that will just about, when it's finished, hopefully stand up on your mantelpiece. Stay like that. But what we need to do now is we need to decorate it. And this is where our sunflowers are going to come in. Excuse me one moment. Bit of a runny nose this evening. Right. Let's put this ruler to one side. Let's put our card to one side. Let's bring in some Whisper White cardstock and our stamp set, and I'm going to use the smaller sunflower, and I think I want about 3 of those. Just deciding whether to stamp them in black or in saddle brown. I think I'm going to go saddle brown just because that's sort of in keeping with the colours of the sunflowers. So let's ink that up, and we'll stamp 1, 2, and 3 sunflowers. Now what I haven't done, but I should have done, is I should have done those onto some shimmery white card. Let's see if we get away with it. So when it comes to not doing as I do, but doing as I say, I'd stamp these on shimmery white cardstock. But I'm going to see if I can get away with it. If not, we'll swap. I'm just going to add some crushed curry ink in there. As long as we don't work it too much, we might get away with it. And just laying down some colour there. And the nice thing about the having the saddle brown stays on is that it's sort of already got that hint of brown in the middle. Just coming round with our crushed curry for our sunflowers here. So I'm not really taking a great deal of time and care. You can obviously take a great deal more time and care. I am going to die cut these in a minute, so I'm not worried particularly about them going over the lines too much. Now, I wonder whether we should go for a bit of an experiment, because we've got yellow and blue in our paper and the purple posy. I'm thinking I'm going to come in with blue centres. That was perhaps a bit darker than I wanted it to be. So you don't normally get blue centres on your sunflowers, but because we've got that yellow and blue in our paper, might be quite fun to have yellow and blue in our flowers. Just wondering, I'm going to put some yellow down on the leaves. And then come in with a bit of the blue. So we're still only using those two colours, but that's given us a bit of a sort of yellowy hue, but it's a mixture of both the crushed curry and the night of navy. Come in the centre here with some yellow as well. Now, what I will do before I move on particularly with those is I'm going to come in and grab some watercolour pencils. And somewhere I have a crushed curry watercolour pencil. It does look like it needs a bit of a sharpen, so let me just quickly do that. Give it a bit of a sharpen, not too much. And I'm just going to come in and add in a bit more shading in this centre bit. Let's do that with these other ones. Just filling in any gaps on that leaf as well. Going over the top and toning down the blue a little bit, making it a little bit more green. There we go. Right, so now we need the little die that's going to cut these flowers out for us. So let's just die cut those 3 sunflowers. One. So the Stampin' Up's new standard size cut and emboss machine is available to demonstrators as of today. So I'm sure you'll soon see those being used. We're still waiting for a release date for the mini one. Right, I think we managed to get away with just using our plain Whisper White cardstock on there. So we have 3 sunflowers, and we're going to have these sunflowers arranged on the end of this tab. Obviously we don't want it, they need to be so that they're not interfering with the mechanism of it sliding in. But quite fun with that blue in there as well. And let's just add in. We'll perhaps be a bit braver with our blue. because the paper is still damp, it's sort of blending in quite nicely. Now I've also got somewhere the little sprig punch, and I have got some purple posy cardstock. Obviously the purple posy, the ink had problems, it just would not work, so we haven't got just an ordinary purple posy ink, but we have got purple posy cardstock, so we can bring in some elements of purple posy as well. Onto our buckle, and we're going to be able to put a nice greeting at the top there somewhere. So I used the sprig punch. We could equally have used the dies that are in with the sunflowers. Stick some of these flowers on here. So we've got our tombow and we've got some dimensionals. So I think we're going to start to put some glue on the back of here. I'm going to add that sprig coming out that way and this one coming out that way, and we'll have that sunflower, I think about there. Then we'll put a couple of, you can see where the watercolour paper was struggling, where the ordinary paper was struggling with the water on the back there, look. But we're not going to see that bit anyway. So let's make sure that our dimensionals aren't sticking over the edge of our buckle, because otherwise it would stick it to the card and we don't want that. We'll have this one. In fact, I'm going to lift that up to make sure that it's not sticking out over the edge. Just going to move you down a little bit dimensional so that you're not sticking over the edge of the buckle. And then we've got another little sprig in here, and I'm just going to pop, that's rather a lot of glue on there, let's take a little bit off and we'll tuck that in underneath there. I think I'd quite like that to go right underneath there, that's better. Like that. So that's then, we've got our buckles, our flowers on there, and those are going to come in, and that will tuck in there like that and sit nice and flat. So then we just need a greeting at the top here. We could have congratulations on reaching a whole new level of wonderful. Let's have a look at some labels, see what we would like to What about some Stitched So Sweetly labels? These are rather fun. That looks rather perfect. So I think that back piece will die cut in some, let's try Night of Navy, see how that looks. We'll have this back one, Night of Navy. That's that nice big stitched label just there. And then we'll take a piece of purple posy. We'll see what that looks like. It might need to be white, we'll see. No, quite like it in purple posy. Then I think we want some Night of Navy ink. Rather fun. Now we've got some of this scalloped linen ribbon with the purple posy on. I think that what we'll do is chop that up a bit. Let me just make sure I've not got a bit that I've already started to chop in my little bits of oddments. No, I've got Tranquil Tide and got Rococo Rose, but no. I'm going to cut off that trim off the edge. And we're just going to use the trim in our card. So there's our trim. So let's tie that in a bow. We might get some sort of frayed bits off of it where we've cut it, but we can pull those out of the way. Let's get rid of those stray threads. We'll have a bit of a purple posy ribbon going on. And then really we could do with some sort of gems. Now I do believe, and I haven't got any, that there are some enamel dots, let's just check that out, that go with this suite, with these papers. And it's the Playing with Patterns suite. Yeah, playing with pattern resin dots. These ones just here. But I haven't actually got any. So we're not going to be playing with pattern resin dots, as useful as that would have been at this moment in time. Instead, going to take some pearls, I think. I've got one or two. Don't want small ones, I want bigger ones. Got one or two that are sitting on that have not been used up, oddments, and then I've got a pack just there. And we don't actually have a crushed curry blend, nor do we have a bumblebee blend, but we do have a Night of Navy, so perhaps we'll have some Night of Navy pearls. And we're just going to move them out of the way of each other. And we'll just colour those in with the brush end of our stamping blend marker. I'm going to leave those to dry just a second while I stick this together. So we'll stick the one label to the other label, sits in there beautifully. We'll stick this on flat, I think. Like that. We'll find a glue dot and add a little bow with a glue dot, and then we'll be ready to add in do I want them on here? On here. Should I have a couple over here on the yellow? That might be quite fun, mightn't it? We'll have one more down there. So there we have a buckle card. Now what we could have done is we could have put a white panel in here. Probably would have been best before we cut it, although if we got a craft knife we could still pop that in there. Now if you wanted that inside panel to write on, alternatively you could put a panel on the back there and write on the back if that's easier. But there, it's not every day you see yellow and blue sunflowers, but yellow and blue is the colour of our paper, so it needed to make sense to follow through on that idea. So I hope you've enjoyed that little buckle card, and we will be back next Wednesday with a What Shall We Make video.